Welcome to the Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today. Look, if you've been losing sleep over compliance, or if you feel like security audits are just this giant bureaucratic nightmare designed to slow your startup down, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are going to completely flip that narrative. We're going to break down an incredible guide from Atlant Security and transform SOC 2 from a red tape headache into literally one of your most powerful sales enablers. So, let's dive right into this. Actually, let's be totally honest for a second. You're probably here because a customer, or maybe a massive future client of yours, asked you to become certified, right? You probably got an email asking this exact question. Can you send us your latest SOC 2 report? And knowing how it goes, they probably asked for a Type 2 report too. If you're building a SaaS product and targeting enterprise clients, you already know this isn't just a polite formality anymore. It's a hard and fast buying requirement. Without it, you just aren't allowed into the procurement pipeline of any risk-aware company, period. Listen to what one CTO of a Series A SaaS startup had to say about this. They told us, quote, "We couldn't even get into pilot programs without a SOC 2 Type 1 report. Now, Type 2 is non-negotiable." I mean, wow, that is the reality of the modern B2B landscape right there. SOC 2 is essentially your ticket to playing in the enterprise leagues. If you want to sell to the Fortune 1000 or operate in regulated industries, or honestly just show some maturity during a Series B due diligence round, this is the toll you have to pay. So, here's our pragmatic playbook for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. Why startups need SOC 2, 2. Demystifying the basics, 3. Timelines and cost breakdown, 4. Startup-friendly security controls, and 5. Passing your first audit. I promise you we're stripping away the intimidating corporate jargon today and just giving you the confident, practical, bottom-line answers you actually need. All right, Section 1, why startups need SOC 2 and why it's actually a massive competitive advantage. Now, what's really interesting here is that the benefits go way beyond just checking a box for a single client. Sure, the most obvious reason is enterprise sales procurement and unblocks those massive deals, but look at these other factors. It accelerates investor due diligence because it literally proves your operational maturity. It actively drops your cyber insurance premiums. It forces real operational discipline in your IT and engineering teams early on, which prevents sloppy habits. But my absolute favorite point here is competitive differentiation. Think about it. If you have your SOC 2 badge and your smaller competitors don't, they're completely sidelined. It takes them 9 to 12 months just to catch up to where you are right now once those enterprise deals start flowing. You are building a real moat around your business. Moving right along to Section 2, demystifying SOC 2 basics, the core framework. Okay, so SOC 2 is an audit framework created by the AICPA. That stands for the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. It's basically designed to show how service providers manage customer data based on 5 specific trust services criteria: security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and privacy. The crucial takeaway here is that SOC 2 isn't about passing or failing a rigid, standardized test. It's about proving your own internal controls actually work. And hey, if you're a startup feeling overwhelmed by these 5 criteria right now, take a deep breath. Only the first one, security, is strictly mandatory to get started. The others are totally optional, depending on what your clients actually care about. Now, here is the biggest point of confusion I see: the difference between Type I and Type 2. Think of Type I as a snapshot. It asks, are your security controls in place right this very second? Because it's just a snapshot, it's a lot faster to get, making it the perfect starting point to unblock those initial deals quickly. Type 2, on the other hand, is a timeline. It asks, did those controls actually work consistently over a 3 to 12-month period? It requires sustained operation, which is why it comes with much higher enterprise trust. Ultimately, most startups grab that Type 1 snapshot first and then follow up with the Type 2 timeline over the next year. Let's talk numbers in Section 3, timelines and cost breakdown, the startup edition. Let's walk through the actual timeline you can expect here. Phase 1 is your readiness and gap assessment, taking about 1 to 2 months. Phase 2 is implementation, taking 1 to 3 months to actually build out the missing policies. Phase 3 is the observation period. Remember, this is only for a Type 2 audit, and this takes 3 to 12 months of just letting your systems run and collecting evidence. Finally, Phase 4 is the auditor review, which takes another 1 to 2 months. So zooming out to put that in perspective, a Type 1 audit is going to take you about 2 to 4 months in total. A Type 2 requires a much longer 6 to 14-month commitment. And let's look at the hard costs. A governance, risk, and compliance platform, or GRC platform like Vanta or Drata, will run you between $7 and $25 grand a year. A Type 1 auditor? About 10 to 20,000, while a Type 2 auditor jumps to between 20 and 45,000. But look at that very last line. This is the true hidden cost that always catches founders off guard. 100 to 300 hours of internal staff time. You don't necessarily need a full-time chief information security officer, but you absolutely need a dedicated internal project owner who has about 5 hours a week to manage this across your teams. Pivoting to the execution phase. Section 4, Startup-Friendly Security Controls. You're going to hear the word control thrown around a lot. Sounds incredibly corporate and intimidating, right? Well, let's demystify that right now. A control is simply a policy, a process, or a technical mechanism that addresses a specific risk. That's it. It is not inherently a $100,000 piece of enterprise software. It can literally just be a documented process your team follows, or a simple settings toggle in the software you already use every day. Just look at how startup-friendly these solutions can actually be. If the risk is unauthorized access, your SOC 2 control is multi-factor authentication. The startup solution? Just enforce MFA on your existing Google Workspace or Office 365. Boom, done. If the risk is bad offboarding of ex-employees, the solution isn't some crazy AI monitoring tool. It's just Okta, or honestly, a manual checklist that you review weekly. Risk of a data breach? Write a basic document and run a quarterly tabletop drill with your team. You need discipline and evidence. You do not need massive enterprise-grade tools. Which brings us to a massive, highly relatable mistake: buying an expensive compliance tool on day one before you actually fix your internal processes. It is so tempting to just throw money at a GRC platform and expect it to magically make you compliant. But as one startup security lead pointed out, they bought a tool but didn't even know what policies to upload, and it actually slowed them down. Do not automate a broken process, folks. Figure out your basic policies first, achieve product market fit, and then bring in the automation tools to save you time. All right, the final stretch, Section 5, passing your first audit. Here are your 6 precise steps to get you across the finish line. Step 1, run a gap assessment. Step 2, document your policies. Step 3, implement those technical controls. Step 4, collect your evidence. Step 5, choose your auditor. And Step 6, schedule the audit. Keep in mind, auditors know you're a startup. Perfection is absolutely not required here. What's required is solid, undeniable evidence that the controls you say you have actually work in practice. And speaking of Step 5, picking the right auditor is vital. Not all of them are created equal. You have to ask them, do you have experience with startups our size? Are you familiar with our specific GRC platform? Will we get a dedicated audit lead? And crucially, what happens if a control fails during the audit? You are looking for a partner who understands fast-moving DevOps teams and lean resources, not someone who expects you to operate like a slow-moving legacy bank. Finally, we really have to stress this. SOC 2 is not a one-and-done event. It's a living operational habit. For recertification, your security training and policy sign-offs need to happen every 12 months. Role-based access reviews, those need to happen quarterly. Vulnerability scans should be running monthly or quarterly. Honestly, this is exactly where those automated GRC tools finally shine. They'll ping you right before a document expires, making sure you stay audit-ready year-round. I want to leave you with this one final, provocative thought. Ask yourself, is your startup just building fast, or are you actually building trust? SOC 2 isn't a burden, it's a badge of honor. It tells your clients, your investors, and your own team that you take security seriously. Done right, it accelerates deals, shortens those painful security questionnaires, and becomes a formidable moat around your business. So go out there, implement these practical steps, and turn your security posture into your biggest selling point. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.